and welcome, fellow professionals. I'd first like to thank Lynette Hollis for inviting me to speak today. It's truly an honor. As she said, my name is Christina Luera. I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor and a licensed sex offender treatment provider supervisor. I'm currently employed with the Programs Department of Lubbock County Detention Center as a rehabilitation coordinator. You've probably never heard of me before. I've been incarcerated for the past 3 years of my career. As I was stepping into my professional career, I wanted a career kind of like Mariska Hargitay, Olivia Benson from Law and Order Special Victims Unit, without having to do all the running and physical stuff. I really wanted to help others make a difference. I wanted a career with excitement. And well, if you're asking me to be honest, I wanted to be motivated and strong-willed like her. I totally think that I could be like her. What do you think? You think I look like her? Well, to elaborate, I really wanted to help people because when I needed help, I didn't know where to go. You see, I grew up in a dysfunctional home like many of you. I came from a good family, but what I thought was a healthy, normal family wasn't. We had dysfunction, and we had family members who were alcoholics and drug addicts. There was some abuse and some enabling in my home. We also were taught not to let anybody know about it. We were taught what happens in our family stays in our family, meaning we never talked about it or addressed it. Our conflicts were resolved with silence. I never felt like I belonged and decided to choose a hard road in life. The problem was that I belonged with my family and they loved me. I just couldn't see past the things I didn't understand. So I self-sabotaged thinking that I knew best. I didn't become an alcoholic or a drug addict, but I sure did date them, and I had toxic relationships and unhealthy relationships. I had become a single mother at the age of 15. You see, I was lost in a world where I only could see black and white, a world where my worth was nothing. But the one thing that I held on to was a promise that I made my mom. That promise saved me because I stayed in school like I promised her. And with the world of education, it opened up my eyes to something new. I learned that the impossible is not impossible. If I opened my eyes to what could be possible, then things would be okay. So I stepped into it, choosing my career, and I realized that I was nothing like Olivia Benson, but it was close to getting to what I could be, as close as I could get with her. I began working with offenders just in a different way. I began my career working with sexually violent predators, and now work with justice-involved offenders. So instead of working in a beautiful city in New York and in the streets of Manhattan, I found myself working in a building in a basement with long, dark hallways and white cinder blocks, heavy steel-plated doors, and for my own protection and my own private security from the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office. Let me tell you, they're the best private security that you can get. The perks are great. I don't have to pay for their services. They run to me within 20 seconds when I call, and they always have their eyes on me. Now, my clients, well, they have it pretty good too. They all paid a price to get into a state-of-the-art, all-inclusive gated community. They get room and board, 3 meals a day, matching outfits, free education services, free religious services, all utilities paid, medical services on site, mental health services on site, a private gym, and as needed, a bonus that they receive their own personal case manager to help them with resources in the community. These inmates, clients, really have it made. At least from the outside looking in. It's like living in a luxury residential home compared to other jail facilities. So today, I would like to walk you through a side of the jail that not many people know about. Well, of course, unless you've been an inmate and been through experience yourself. So today we're going to talk and focus about defining the programs department at LCDC, learning about the programs that are offered, identifying the types of drugs that the inmates report using. I'm going to tell you a little bit about repeat story and learning about the step-up program and the research that we're involved in. So I would like to ask you to imagine what you think the Lubbock County Detention Center looks like. Some people who watch television and movies might believe that it looks a little something along the lines of this. You know, a place where people are punished by being kept in four walls and having nothing to do but gamble, join a gang, manipulate, and fight for food. Sure, it can be that way sometimes, but at the LCDC, we've been motivated to create a different environment and a culture for our inmates. Let's walk through some of the realities of what actually the experience inside the jail is like. The Lubbock County Detention Center, we have a capacity to hold up to 1,520 beds for inmates and have approximately 362 employees working at the jail. Told you, get my own private security. Thank you, Sheriff Kelly Rowe. At LCDC, we work with pre-sentence individuals that might have done something that was against the law. You know, the stages of innocent until proven guilty. Lately, we've been packed in the jail with pre-sentence offenders. Our numbers have increased, and we have seen quite a few inmates in the jail with a history of substance use and substance use-related charges. There are approximately 85 to 90% of the inmates in jail that have an addiction. In 2003, from January 1st to December 31st, we had approximately 1,875 individuals charged with a controlled substance, 979 individuals charged with a DWI ranging from a misdemeanor to a felony, and 951 individuals had marijuana charges. Now, these charges are specifically substance use-related charges, and the reality is that many of the inmates that come into for various charges battle with addiction. Now, this does not mean that the drugs made them commit the crime or caused the negative behavior. This means that they had an ongoing battle with addiction probably even before the crime or negative behavior began. Now, these are just an approximate number of substance-related charges that we saw in 2023, and I did not include the charges that were not substance use-related. And there are many other charges that individuals have received that may have involved substance use. Those charges can include assault, aggravated robbery, resisting arrest, domestic abuse, prostitution, auto theft, and human trafficking, just to name a few. The inmates that we work with are not allowed to talk to us about their charges, but they do not seem to hesitate to tell us that they have a history of struggling with addiction. You see, when they tell us about this history, most of the time they're asking us for help. Some of the substances that individuals tell us that they have been addicted to can include alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamines, fentanyl, Xanax, ecstasy, Percocets, acid, mushrooms, and cocaine. According to the Center of Addiction Behind Bars 2, Substance Abuse in America's Prison Population, published in February 2010, the exact rates of inmates with substance use disorders was difficult to measure. But some of the research showed us that an estimated 65% of the United States prison population has an active substance use disorder, and another 20% did not meet the criteria. But they also reported that they admitted to being under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time of their crime. This publication was in 2010, and since then, another study, the National Survey on Drug Use and Health 2023, was published. In this study, it was reported that the millions of Americans have struggled with both substance use disorder and mental health illness. 134.7 million ages 12 and up struggled with alcohol, 61.8 million 12 and up struggled with marijuana, 8.9 million ages 18 and older struggled with opioids, and 58.7 million 18 and older struggled with mental health. So the numbers are in the millions, and to give you a perspective of how many United States citizens we have that struggle with addiction, there are approximately 334.9 million people in the United States in 2023. So if these citizens have both a mental health and substance use disorder, well, now they have comorbidity, which is, you know, one of those things that where they have both the diagnosis and then they have the substance use disorder. So let's begin talking about the experiences that take place at the Lubbock County Detention Center through the eyes of the programs department. I would like to ask you to keep an open mind as we walk into the work that we do and the impacts that we make in the community for change. In our department, we work as a team. We have officers and professional staff that rely on each other to do their job well and use strong use of communication and building connections with the community. Building rapport with each other is vital to our operations running smoothly in the jail, but it's also important for us to team build and to build rapport not just with each other, but with individuals that we house in the facility. Our program staff department consists of 10 employees, and we have 5 different programs areas. The programs department is led by our programs captain, Salamane Lopez, and Sergeant Charmaine Johnson. We have coordinators of each department and a few case managers and an education assistant. We're relatively a small department, but I believe we make a huge impact. The programs department includes the following areas: religion, spirituality, education, working inmate jobs, reentry services, and rehabilitation services. So on a side note, I also want to point out that Sergeant Johnson received the Detention Officer of the Year award for the Texas State Jail Association, and I just want to say congrats to him. He's here, by the way. So our programs has 4 specialty housing areas, what we call specialty pods. The Dream Institute, the Education Program Pod, the Working Inmate Program, and the Step Up Program. The inmates are usually in these specialty pods are voluntarily placed in the program of their choosing. They're not mandated to participate in the programs that we offer. I believe that by giving them the choice in these programs, it really benefits them when it comes to change. We started the programs department in 2016 with one goal in mind, and that is to find a way to reduce recidivism in our jail and in our community. We also want to rehabilitate the inmates and to help them with recovery and addictions and the criminal behaviors. So let's talk a little bit about what programs looks like. Whoop. So the program works with various churches and has many volunteers and offers their time and services to provide education about the importance of spirituality. They offer religious counseling services, they offer baptisms, church services, spiritual concerts of music and faith, and community involvement. The education program, the program works with inmates who are seeking their education with their GED or their high school diploma. In this program, our team has volunteers, educators that provide educational classes and tutors to inmates who are seeking to further their education. The program also works with Texas Tech Business School students to provide a program called KEY. And this program is where they're provided education on how to monitor their credit and learn how to budget. Another program that they have includes Fatherhood on Fire, which is a parenting class offered by our volunteers from St. Francis Ministries. The Working Inmate Program, this offers the opportunity to volunteer for jobs within the facility. The outside facility can provide work skills to prepare for the workforce in the community. They are taught time management and skills, accountability and responsibilities required in the workforce. They're also given the opportunity to gain employment once they're released with the City of Lubbock. The Reentry Program connects with the community to build relationships so that they can learn about resources that they're offered in the community. And this program has volunteers who are the local community partners, such as the Voice of Hope, Goodwill, and VetStar and Workforce Solutions. In my area, we offer the Step Up program. This program is a counseling-focused program. The inmates are offered both group and individual counseling services. This program is also involved in a research study developed by Notre Dame's Wilson Sheehan Lab for Economic Opportunities called LEO. LEO helps service providers apply scientific evaluation methods to better understand and share effective poverty interventions, and the goal of the study is to determine if this is a good program in a jail setting. The community connections that we have made include working with universities and local nonprofits. When the program staff gets to know an inmate, we get to hear the stories about their life experiences that led them to the situation that they're in. We learn that substances are often a part of the entanglement in their life story. Many of the inmates have complex trauma and/or adverse childhood experiences, which include a history of abuse, relationship issues, anxiety, depression, a lack of interpersonal skills, learning disorders, and PTSD. You see, complex trauma refers to a series of traumatic events like a place over a long period of time, and adverse childhood experiences refers to the experiences that occur in childhood, which can include a dysfunctional home with emotional, physical, and/or sexual abuse. Both may have long-standing effects on individuals' mental health and physical well-being. This can lead to maladaptive practices of coping and can include addictions. In the area of rehabilitation services, we have focused on behavioral management programs and helping inmates and counseling services. The STEP-UP program is a program that uses a foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy in both group and individual counseling sessions. And we also integrate different therapy modalities such as motivational interviewing, person-centered therapy, and schema therapy, just to name a few. The integration of different modalities is both beneficial to the inmate's individual treatment plan and the volunteer's learning experience. The program is set up to succeed based on the number of volunteers that we have readily available. We have student interns who are working on their master's degree in counseling, LPC associates, and retired LPCs who are looking to stay involved in the fields. The program also depends on the inmates in their program and who are willing and wanting to volunteer to spend their time in the program during the time in jail. So the STEP-UP program is also not successful without other departments in our programs area. The programs heavily relies on the support of our education, reentry religious, and working inmate programs. We work together to build a treatment plan for each inmate that can utilize our programming services by use of observation and inmate-specific requests. For example, if an inmate is seeking to further his education and find local rehabs to transition to when they're released, then we work together to help the inmate gain their GED and find a suitable rehab for them while they're out there in the community. While they're making the changes in the STEP-UP program, this collaboration helps establish a support system for the inmates and plan to rebuild their next steps in life. So as you can see, there are many people involved in supporting the inmates through their journey in this program. The program is a 3-phase program that is set up to last approximately 14 to 21 weeks. It's a self-paced program due to the unknown amount of time that an inmate can be housed with us. Sometimes they come in and they're there for 3 weeks, and sometimes they're there for 2 years, so it varies on each inmate. The 3 phases include School of Thought, Emotions of Inside Out, Release Management, and each of these phases consists of a mandatory class that an inmate must attend weekly. Sounds like a lot of therapy. Don't I know it? This is why we have to match the students' schedule with what we do in the classes. We need to be able to have a break from therapy, especially the inmates and then the therapists as well. That way they have a breather and they're not getting burned out. The inmates are engaged in individual counseling services that are offered by our volunteers on a first-come, first-served basis. This allows our volunteers to have freedom in choosing the size of their caseload and also to help them decide what they can handle for the semester depending on the stage of growth that they're in their learning phase. So I'd like you to meet Repeat the Offender. I'd like to provide an example of what the program looks like for him. He is the offender that some of us say never learns and is always going back in and out of jail for the same thing or for something similar that he was previously arrested for. Well, that's not necessarily the case. These offenders, like Repeat the Offender, turn out to have more going on emotionally, physically, and mentally. They're not just the criminal we see from the outside. Repeat has a history of complex trauma, adverse childhood experiences, and he has never learned how to deal with distress tolerance and has a history of being addicted to methamphetamines, fentanyl, and alcohol. Repeat the Offender has been a returning justice-involved individual throughout his whole life. He has a long history of drug-related charges. He was first introduced to alcohol and drugs at the age of 11. His parents' relationship was codependent and violent, and his father was physically abusive to him and the rest of his family. He offered Repeat his first sip of alcohol at the age of 11. After his parents' divorce, Repeat was placed in a role to become the man of the home. His mother was on welfare and had no motivation to take on the responsibilities of a mother. His father, well, he became absent. In his life, he was never heard from again. Repeat found acceptance in the streets and found his way for his family to survive. He became the caretaker of his family and did so by distributing drugs and using drugs. Repeat also had developed toxic relationships with women and was an abusive partner himself. Repeat saw nothing wrong with the relationship history and believed that as long as he avoided long-term committed relationships, that he would be able to do great things in his relationships by not getting attached to people. His thoughts were that he couldn't trust anyone anyways, so why did he need anyone? Repeat had decided during his last incarceration at LCDC to sign up for the Step Up program. You see, he was getting older and wanted to try something different this time. He took 21 weeks to complete each phase of the program. He completed the workbooks, engaged in groups, participated in individual counseling, and learned to socialize with others. He then graduated the program with his family present for support, and he became a mentor of the program and engaged in mentor leadership groups, taught orientation classes, and had a leading role in organizing art supplies, which was a job in the Step Up program. He continued to engage in the program classes as a mentor. During this time as a mentor in the program, which was about 3 months in the program, he connected with our education department and began working on his GED. Repeat offender had now been motivated to improve other areas of his life with education and wanted to learn a new skill set so that he had a plan for his future. He qualified for the working inmate program where he finished out the rest of his time in jail. Before his attorney informed him that he had qualified for the drug court program, he then connected with our reentry program to begin the process of what the qualification meant for him moving forward. As you can see, Repeat learned in Phase 1, School of Thought, how to use cognitive behavioral skills. Cognitive behavioral skills included understanding how our thought process influences our emotion, which influences our behaviors. He learned that by managing his thoughts, that he can manage his emotions and his behaviors as well. When clients learn this process, they're taught to practice awareness skills by keeping up with a thought journal to identify and challenge their irrational thoughts and replace them with healthy, new, and productive thoughts. He was also learning how to identify unhealthy relationships in his life and started to learn how to set boundaries and to create healthy relationships as he learned to socialize. Helping him develop new skills in socialization, he was able to provide a new healthy support system as he began his journey for change. Repeat also focused on developing new skills to improve his self-esteem and self-compassion. What this means is that in this phase, he was challenged to engage in positive self-talk, gratitude, and to offer grace for himself. Him and other inmates learned to challenge their distorted thoughts and target the tactics that they used to justify their behaviors. Repeat was also educated on alcohol and drugs. In this class, it helped him identify his triggers, cravings, urges, and he started to understand the long-lasting effects of this substance use. In Phase 2, clients like Repeat, the offender, was taught emotional regulation skills. There are 5 emotions that they target in this phase, which include depression, grief, guilt and shame, anxiety, and anger. The program primarily focuses on these specific emotions because anecdotally, these are the skills that the clients struggle with the most, and they're often contributing factors to relapse and recidivism. They learn how to identify the name of their emotions and have a healthy expression of emotions and learn coping skills. In this phase, in Phase 3, Repeat focused on combining the skills of Phase 1 and 2 by planning for future obstacles that he may experience in life. Clients like Repeat engaged in groups that provide SMART goals, identify seemingly unimportant decisions, and developing safety plans. They also learn life skills like money management, resume building, and interviewing skills. Additionally, clients identify maladaptive patterns in their relationships that have been originated from childhood and they have prevented them from success. By identifying their maladaptive patterns, the clients were able to learn and utilize adaptive patterns in relationships for longevity and sustainability. So, in the case of Repeat, he was then motivated to further his education, gain work skills, and make connections in the community with the working inmate coordinator. And with the reentry coordinator, he worked for and searched for resources that he can utilize in our community. The Step Up program was successful for Repeat the offender. The collaboration and the team effort from the programs department at the Lubbock County Detention Center allowed him to create a successful path for his future. He was connected to the community of Lubbock through resources that helped him reach his goals. This is just one story of an individual in the program. That Notre Dame Wilson Shahan's Lab for Economic Opportunities project helped with the success. Thanks to the research opportunity Leo has provided the Lubbock County Detention Center, we now have information needed to provide the rehabilitation during the pre-sentencing phase that can be a success in the program like Step Up. The Leo program researchers were quoted stating that we find the program is largely successful, decreasing the likelihood that participants experience a behavioral incident within a 30-day period by 8.2 percentage points, a 49% drop. This decline is largely driven by disciplinary infractions, such as being disrespectful to officers or another inmate, which make up for a bulk of behavioral incidents. We also see a statistically significant 1.8 percentage point decrease in physical assaults on other inmates, which is a 50% decrease of the untreated mean. We supplement this analysis with a differences approach using a balanced propensity, more score match sample. In this analysis, we find the stronger impacts over baseline, but compromise on statistical power. Heterogeneity analysis with our main approach shows that the individuals with current violent charges and the youngest age groups, ages 18 to 30, have the strongest response to the program. So we have various ages in the program, and the ones that gained the most from Step Up from the research that Leo did was ages 18 to 30. But that doesn't say that the ones 30 and up didn't benefit, because we have a lot of success stories that they benefited as well. The findings in the research tell us a lot about the impacts of the behavioral change that can be made. But the stories like repeat offenders show us that connections, collaboration, and supportive programs in the foundation to creating new healthy patterns of relationships. This story is important to share with y'all because there are many more like repeat the offender in the community connections that we develop and are helping them change their lives. This new approach to attempt to reduce recidivism with programs beginning in the early stages of pre-sentencing can be a great tool for individuals. It can target areas early in their incarceration by challenging them to find ways to heal in their past instead of avoiding and using maladaptive ways to cope. It is challenging them a new purpose to living with a new skill. It is offering them hope when they thought that they've lost all hope. And our programs department helps individuals find a sense of autonomy when they believe that they had none. In our journey of developing a new way of reducing recidivism, we have met men that have returned back to school, graduated from college, reconnected with family, and learned from others. Repeat the offender is one of them. He remained sober, got a job, graduated from drug court, and he volunteers his free time into helping community of Lubbock. The best thing about the dream job is that he invited our program staff to be a part of this journey in his community. I have to say, watching a man that had no support from family when I met him to become a man with family ties and support his past, watching a man that had no support from family when I met him to become a man with family ties and support from his past and his future has been one of the most remarkable things that I've ever seen in my life. So my career may not be like Olivia Benson's, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.